Well, this lesson is part of really a bigger unit that we're studying. We're looking at living things. And so we have our language arts, we have our math, we have science. And so within that, we've come to the point where we are now going to put into play what we've learned from our science experiment, which is yeast, and now we are going to bake some bread. I look at my students because they're so diverse and they have so many different needs. I look at this lesson in that there is not one learning outcome. I have many learning outcomes. For some of my students, it may mean to have them sit for a period of time and focus. For another student, it may be that he can learn that yeast, the reactions, the chemical reactions, and the yeast will make the bread rise. So I look at the lesson as targeting the individual needs of my students and then them benefiting from some element of the lesson.
And does that fit within larger IEP goals for individuals and a set of?
Absolutely. Each child has their IEP goals, and so one child, it may be developing language. So within this lesson, we do a lot of language, we have a lot of words that we've learned, we expand our list of our bank of words. For another student, that IEP goal may be sitting quietly within the group, listening. Another student may be raising their hand when they have a question. So for my lessons, it's not one goal, it's many goals. And really targeting what that student needs and making the accommodations so that they can reach those goals. That's ongoing. From the beginning of the lesson to the end of the school day, I'm constantly assessing, seeing if the child understands. If they don't understand, I've got to go back and I've got to change that. I've got to say, okay, what can I do to help them understand? Or I'm constantly assessing to see if I ask a child to read a short CVC word and I see that they don't know the word, then I have to break it down, give me the letter sound. If I see that they don't know the letter sound, I have to break it down again and give them choices. So I'm constantly assessing my teaching, not only whether they understand me, but I also have to assess whether or not I'm presenting it properly. Therefore, if I'm not presenting it in the way that they understand, I need to change that. From the beginning of the school year, I set rules. I set ground rules. We have our routines, and many of the children adhere to those routines and rules. Student behavior is never an issue. It's never an issue with a child that has been in the classroom for, let's say, a period of time of a few weeks. They understand this is what we do, this is how there are no surprises. And I try to model appropriate behaviors. And the other children who have been in the class for a longer period of time know how to model behaviors. And so we learn from each other. And there really is no student behavior challenges. For my children, it's always challenging. Some of my children are nonverbal. You'll see that some of my children have difficulty focusing. So I don't look at one question. I look at many little questions. When I am teaching a lesson, I need to be constantly assessing and looking. Is this child engaged? If not, I'll put out a question. Oh, how does this work? Oh, what does this mean? You'll see it during the lesson. At the same time, if I'm looking at language and we have our words that we're using for this lesson, then I'll ask some students that I know have particular challenges in reading, and if I see that they can't read that word, then I'll ask them to, I'll bring it down and ask them to give me the letter sound, and we'll break it down. So I'm constantly breaking down into smaller questions, trying to get those children to participate, feel successful, and feel accepted in the classroom environment. That way they're going to be more successful, feeling comfortable. I think in this case, the children are excited because they eat bread every day, but they don't really know where does it come from and what happens? What is this food that I'm eating mean? And so now they can look at this and they can understand, oh, this is somebody made this. Maybe I can make this. How is it made? And so really it's about motivating and engaging the children. That's how they're going to learn. If I were to bake bread, bring it in and said, this is it, it has no meaning. But when they participate, they will remember that this is how it works and this is what they're learning. So by actually being involved in the process, they will remember what they've learned.